This is ITV1. Now we head live to the Manicourt circuit in central France as Jim Rosenthal introduces the French Grand Prix.
Formula One on ITV, sponsored by Toyota.
Schumacher's had a pretty much perfect lap here. Is he going to get pole position? Yes, he does. His third in 4 races. Williams look really unstoppable here.
Manicourt 2002, Michael Schumacher races to his 5th world title in record time. A year on, the heat is on. Williams shaking up Formula One's balance of power. And we have ideal conditions for the hunters, Williams and McLaren. It's dry, it's warm at Manicourt for race 10 of the championship, the French Grand Prix. Hello there. He's broken just about every record in the book, and today Michael Schumacher tries to become the first driver to win an individual Grand Prix 7 times. He's quite simply magnificent here at Manicourt, but Tony, well, he's got a real scrap in front of him this afternoon.
It is going to be a real scrap. He's only 7 points ahead in the World Drivers' Championship. You have to remember that Williams have won 47 points in the last 3 races, Ferrari 31 and then 13 to McLaren. And they're talking about tough season ahead, and they took a real battering at the Nürburgring. As Jean Todt said, it's the first time we've not been in a position to have a go for victory.
But Williams cleaning up on the front row today.
Certainly, and Ralf Schumacher doing a tremendous job. By his own admission earlier in the season, he was uncomfortable with the car. He found it very difficult to get the right sort of setup. But he said the last few races have just been getting better and better. A great buzz from the team, a great lift for Juan Pablo Montoya as well. He was 7/10 of a second off Ralf Schumacher in the morning. He got to within a 10th. You see him clapping there. Look, Mario Tyson on the right, Patrick Head on the left, the technical director of the team. Very pleased to lock out the front row of the grid.
Applause from the garage there. They're all a little bit wary, though, of Michael Schumacher right behind the Ferrari, the only car on the Bridgestones in the top 10.
You can't underestimate this man. He makes such a difference. They're struggling with all areas of their package, says Jean Todt, but this man here was fastest in the first sector. He said, I'd have traded that for pole position. They know that they went well on the tyres, on long runs on the Bridgestone. So they still fear Michael Schumacher. He's there in the frame. Yeah,
Michael Schumacher starting 3rd on the clean side of the grid. We can't discount the McLaren challenge. Kimi Raikkonen, good to see David Coulthard up there as well, Tony.
Yeah, I mean, Kimi and David both did a great job. Kimi said he did as much as he possibly could to eventually get that 4th position on the grid, rang as much out of it as he possibly could. David Coulthard, this was great. A solid performance in qualifying, which is what he needed to get 5th place on the grid. He said it was relatively conservative. He wanted to keep it tidy, but the car responded really well. Perhaps there was even a couple of tenths in it as well.
Hotter the better for those McLarens. 24 degrees at the moment. It's clouding over a little bit though. OK then, Tony, just chat us through the grid, could you?
Well, Ralf Schumacher with his 4th career grid pole position on there, and alongside him Juan Pablo Montoya making a 1-2 like they had in Canada. Can they get a 1-2 again today in the race? Michael Schumacher in the frame looking for his 7th record French Grand Prix win, and Kimi Raikkonen looking to atone for that defeat at the hands of Michael Schumacher here last year. So in 5th place is David Coulthard. He needs a strong result in the race now. And Trulli and Alonso there in 7th place, upholding Renault honours on home turf. Barrichello, the car deteriorated from the warm-up until the qualifying session, down in 8th place there, the second Ferrari. Then we have Mark Webber, he's 9th there, inside the top 10. He could have squeezed a bit more, he said, but Panis, that's the 3rd top 10 on the grid for him. He's optimistic for Toyota. Pitsonia squeezed most out of the Jaguar, he said. Alongside him, Villeneuve in the BAR Honda. He pushed really hard. He pushed the Bridgestones really hard as well. D'Amata, so he's got a slightly different strategy for today, we will see. But Jenson Button in 14th place. Barely 40 minutes of track time out of 2.5 hours because of engine problems. Nick Heidfeld down there in 15th place. 16th place, previous winner Frentzen, struggling with his front tyres in the Sauber. Fisichella, very disappointed. 3 seconds off pole, bitterly disappointed. Furman struggling with the other Jordan in 18th. And then Jos Verstappen and Justin Wilson front to the back for both the Minardis. But lots of fuel in those cars, says team boss Paul Stoddart.
Ralph, what was it like waiting for your brother to go out, knowing that he might just be able to get you on one lap?
I mean, it's always, just waiting and never knowing. But at the end of the day, to be honest, I thought that we were strong in the first sector, but couldn't do it in the second and third. That's what we saw this morning. So I didn't really expect him to jump us.
Will it be just a battle between you and your teammate again?
I think Michael will be there. But, looking at the last race, we had a much better race pace. They had probably the first, we had probably first 2 laps better than them in the stint. Then they'll be quicker for like 5 laps. But the rest of the stint, we seem to be a lot stronger.
It was a good lap, but nothing of that special.
What can you do to fight Williams here this weekend?
Overtake them.
Hopefully we can catch up the points later a little bit, and would be good for end of the season. But for sure we try to fight for victory and do our best.
Qualifying for me has gone a lot better, so that gives me a real chance to go out and race with the correct group rather than having to, pass slower cars at the start of the race.
More on David Coulthard later. Good to see him up towards the sharp end of the grid. But if you watched our coverage of the qualifying sessions, you'll know we're featuring Renault as the team to meet this weekend. Jarno Trulli's put his car in the 3rd row. Off the track, he has been a very busy boy. Louise Goodman reporting.
This is one of the most hectic weeks of the season for Renault. Fernando Alonso and Jarno Trulli have been walking the walk and talking the talk at a series of promotional events planned to coincide with the team's home Grand Prix. There have been fashion photo shoots, visit to the Renault car factories in Paris and thousands of autographs to sign along the way. And that's before their race preparations begin. But it's not all hard graft, and this weekend Jarno found time to indulge one of his more leisurely passions.
I have to say, Jarno, this is a very nice way to spend the evening. Beautiful chateau in the wonderful French countryside.
It's fantastic. I mean, it's the first time for me here. We know that France has got a really nice chateau, but this is really the best I've ever seen. So it will be good to spend some time together, drink some good wine, have some good food, and enjoy the evening.
So tell me about this wine that we're going to be trying tonight, then.
Yeah, I am a wine producer since 2 years. My grandfather, he produced his own wine, and now since 2 years I am involved in this business, which is starting pretty well, and it's interesting because it's a new world to discover. And in the future, maybe once I will retire in Formula One, maybe 10 years time or more, I will probably be involved in this better.
And you do the drinking as well, I guess?
Yeah, for sure. I do the drinking, I taste the wines.
So you do the sort of full-on wine tasting?
Yes, I'm learning. I actually would like to learn more, but I don't have enough time because I'm very busy with the Formula One.
Now this is obviously, being the team's home Grand Prix, this is a really busy weekend for you, isn't it?
Well, I've done a lot of signature this week because I meet a lot of people from the factory. We visit 2 factories in Paris, and absolutely we got a lot of supporters during the weekend here. So for sure it's a busy, very busy Grand Prix.
So how do you manage to stay focused on the racing?
it's difficult to find the time because you spend so much time, let's say, on promotion. But we are pretty strictly in terms of working on the circuit. We have our schedule, we respect it, but definitely up to now it has been a very tough weekend in terms of promotion.
Well, this is playtime now, so let's go and drink some of your wine.
Yes, now is relax time. Not too much.
Now tell me about it.
This is basically our first vintage, and it's already a very good vintage. The best one anyway is the 2001, just put in a bottle, but it's too young to taste it now, so probably next year.
That's nice, isn't it?
With a nice red meat steak. Fantastic.
It's quite strong, isn't it? Quite full.
Yeah, it's strong, but the good thing from this wine is it doesn't go to your head. You'll see.
Clear head essential then for Jarno Trulli, hoping to get the taste of a few points this afternoon. He's got a few reservations about the changes they've made to the last two corners here at Manicourt. It remains, though, one of his favourite tracks. The alterations mean we've got 70 as opposed to 72 laps. It's a technical and very smooth circuit. Tyre wear a constant problem, but not for our pole sitter in qualifying. I want you to hop on board the Williams now with Martin Brundle at the microphone and Ralf Schumacher at the wheel. Well, you've just seen the third successive Williams pole at Manicourt. Their last win, though, that was Damon Hill back in 1996. So, what are the chances of Williams serving up an overdue victory today? Here's Technical Director Patrick Head with Ted Kravitz.
Well, Patrick, I reckon the chances of Williams 1-2 today pretty good. What do you think?
Well, they may have been pretty good in Canada 2 races ago, and we only managed to 2-3. So, but it's a 200-mile race, or just under 200 miles, and these are fairly complex machines, and equally obviously we've got a race between our two drivers as well as with Michael and the two McLarens, I'm sure, so plenty of ways of getting it wrong.
You've had to change a gasket on Ralf Schumacher's engine. Any worries there?
No, I think BMW identified something that they were a bit concerned about, and they wanted to take a cam cover off to check, and they took it off under the scrutiny of the FIA, established that their worries were unfounded and that everything was okay, and they put the cover back on, and they needed to fit a new gasket for that.
Good stuff. Thank you very much, Patrick.
Thanks.
He's cagey, he's cautious, but Williams deep down must be pretty confident, Tony.
Now, he's a wily old fox. The area where Ferrari is strongest is in the first sector and the long straight, and Williams know that's where they must protect, from Ferrari's overtaking manoeuvres. So they've managed to squeeze out a bit more top speed from the Williams down there as well. And they've looked at every aspect of the game, so we're expecting an exciting race. And Montour is saying, look, I'm going for it. I've got nothing to lose. Michael Schumacher's got everything to lose here. He said, I want to win. That means a lot to me.
OK, the French Mirage jets always give us a little buzzing about this time. 40 minutes to go to the start of the French Grand Prix. But now a chance for you to discover what it takes to become a Formula One photographer. The snappers, they're a sizable and a very important part of the media pack who follow this sport around the world. Here's our attractively enlarged mum-to-be, Beverly Turner.
Formula One is all about colour, speed and movement on the track, but a good photographer can capture all of that in one single shot. Well, here in Manicourt there are normally 130 snappers all fighting for the perfect picture, but this weekend they've got a little extra competition. How hard can it be? John, you've been working in F1 on and off for 10 years now as a photographer. How did you first get started?
Well, a friend of mine, Damon Hill, who was racing, and when he started at Williams with Prost, we started to document his career. Really, it was a sort of behind-the-scenes aspect that we were looking for. There's 80,000 people that come to a race. What do they do? How do they get there? What do they have to endure? For me, the passion of the sport comes from the people that are watching.
And you're very good at capturing people in their environment, be it a mechanic in a garage, or I know you've done some work overseas.
A lot of work with International Red Cross and UNICEF. It's people, it's building relationships with people. If it's a mechanic or a driver or somebody in Africa, the approach is the same. And just look, this is quite a nice shot here with all the tyres and the concentration on the face. Just think of all the details on the tyres. Here they've got these trucks together, and you've got, the waterproof Yeah, this is quite interesting, I think, you know. Here's a great shot here. The guy's working.
Well, John's known for his very distinctive reportage style of photography, and with me now is Clive Mason. Clive, you've recently won the very prestigious Sports Photographer of the Year award. So why do you think F1 is so photogenic?
I mean, it's got everything a photographer is looking for in colours, in shapes. It's very graphic. There's movement, there's personalities. It's pretty much got everything you could want.
So for you, what makes a great motorsport photograph?
Certain things are harder to shoot than others. Getting something a little bit different. Monaco, for instance, is so overpopulated with photographers. So you're looking for something different, and the sunbathers photograph with Michael on the track below them is a classic example, I think, of that. Last corner at Le Mans photograph where you've got the blurred tail lights. That's the kind of picture you're looking for there. You don't want it completely dark because everything goes black. You want a little bit of detail left, a bit of twilighty kind of light. But the British Rally made a lovely water splash picture last year with Peter Solberg going through the last stage, sun's behind him, just a lovely shape of the water.
All right, Clive, so we're going to go into the Jaguar garage now during the test session. Any last-minute tips for me?
Just watch your back, Bev. You know, it's dangerous, as you well know. You've spent it long enough in there as I have. Just keep close, keep everything big in the frame if you can. That's the thing. Just keep faces.
Excellent.
You know, keep it looking nice and tight.
Brilliant.
And everything will be lovely.
Let's do it.
You see, we can do detailed stuff now. They're doing things like that. All we need is a couple of drivers, and we can crack on. When he gets in, it's quite often nice if you slow it down. Right. So you've got to, you know, we were saying about the movement.
Yep.
And just try and keep it wide, and as he gets in, move the camera a bit, and the flash will freeze him in places. You can take the camera and you can point it down. You do 2 frames, look back at it, and you can see where you cut it.
Well, I've had a great time being a photographer for the weekend with 2 very good coaches. And Clive, in the garage, I noticed how close we had to get to the drivers to get the shots. Do you ever feel like you're distracting them?
No, I think as long as you're careful, you're aware of their needs and the pressure they're under. They know we have a job to do. They're cool with us. We give them the space when they need it.
And John, I reckon any pictures that I've taken that were half decent this weekend was because I had a good bit of kit. How important is this?
I think now with digital, it's just changed the whole thing. You know, we can view pictures, send them back to newspapers, magazines, websites. It's fantastic.
And you know what I've learned more than anything? Is that you guys don't just sit around all day enjoying F1 hospitality. You actually do some work.
Cheers to that. Thank you.
And you can see exactly what Beverly did with a good piece of kit, because we're going to put her pictures on the ITV F1 website. Now, though, we continue our focus on the Renault team by sitting down with the boss, Flavio Briatore, an entrepreneur. He's got a bit of a playboy image as well. He's a first-rate driving talent spotter. What, though, are his thoughts on Renault's season so far?
You know, Renault is a very young team. It's 2 years in Formula One, and I believe we've done quite a good job. We recreate a completely new team in England and in France. It's not easy. It's not easy to manage 2 different nationalities. And you need to make sure no nationality cover the other one. It's quite interesting exercise, but I'm quite pleased because now the team is there, the base is very solid, and we need looking for performance.
You came up working with the Benetton family, and you had a very different background to people who have been in Formula One all their lives. I mean, you didn't start as a mechanic or anything like that, did you?
No, really, but I respect everybody in Formula One, start from the mechanic to be a principal of a very successful team. But I am my way to managing, and really, I don't want to learn. I want to do it my way because for the moment, it looks like it's working.
Sure. Do you think it helps from your point of view that you can see Formula One from a wider perspective?
You know, for me, Formula One was always entertainment business. Everybody knows you have the technology, made the car go quick in the track, but when we had 300 people watching TV, I don't believe these people looking for the launch control, the traction control, how many speed we have in the gearbox. people want to look the entertainment, 2 hour entertainment, want to see the driver overtaking, want to see the limit of the human being, want to see the limit of the car, and want to see star.
It was at this Grand Prix last season, Flavio, you announced you were dispensing with the services of Jenson Button. Have you at any stage regretted that decision?
The moment I made the decision, wrong or right, I never regret it, because you're never looking for the past. Jenson is very nice driver, he's very good, but my future, I believe at the time, my future was Fernando Alonso. I want to build up the team again with somebody, give the motivation to everybody in the team to working. The same we done with Michael in '92. Is it my way to operate? I thought about, okay, I want this guy growing with the team, because the team is very young as well. And I feel Fernando was somebody special. I take the risk, and now look like I'm quite all right.
What about yourself, Flavio? People see you as a bit of a playboy.
No, really. I always tell I go sleep very early in the night. I wake up very early in the morning, and this sometimes I go out. I prefer go out once a week or once every 2 weeks, but not every night. If I go out, I want to go out because it's a lot of pressure in our business, and really, if I go out, I want to stay out. Simple like that. But I go work, and normally when the playboy go to sleep. This I think so is the big difference.
You tend to put your head on the pillow alongside some quite attractive people, though.
No, but I think so. This is part of life, and everybody looking for something, and I'm very happy, and I'm happy in my job, I'm happy in my personal situation, and really, I'm very lucky.
Just finally, Flavio, when people say it's a Flavio Briatore team, it's a Flavio Briatore setup, what do you want that to be? What message do you want to send out above all about a team that you're in charge of?
I think so. It's not Flavio Briatore. I think so. It's Renault, sure, with my hand, because it's not the name of the team, it's the people operating the team. We are very open with the media, we are very open with the sponsor, we are welcome to everybody. We want to more close to the people, because sometimes the Formula One is too far for the supporter. We want to have maybe different Formula One to have fun and have the best event as possible.
We're having great fun spending the weekend with your team. Thanks for your time.
Thank you very much.
Hello, Fernando Alonso. We are here in Manicourt. All the drivers will have different things to relax a little bit before the race. I like to play cards, card tricks, and I'm here with Luis, my assistant, today, and we show you a special trick. We have the cards, obviously Spanish, because if not, the trick is difficult to do. You have to choose one card now.
Okay. Pick a card.
You are too slow. You are too slow for this card.
Okay, got one.
Yeah? No,
That
you
one.
have,
Okay, I have to take it.
no, you have to show the camera.
Yep.
You remember that card,
I will.
Okay?
It's difficult. They've got different symbols on them.
We leave the cards here.
Yep.
Nothing in the hands. We have in the pocket special thing. It's like a lock to put in the cards. Because if you can see, there is a hole in the cards.
Yep.
This goes in. We close. If we can. We close.
Yep.
You have your cards. You know which card you choose.
I know which one.
You remember?
Yep.
Okay. Now we take this off. And then, when we arrive to your card, you tell me stop. You tell me stop. Eh? If you don't tell
I haven't
me stop,
seen it yet. You keep going.
we
haven't
cannot
seen
play
it yet.
anymore if you don't tell me stop. You have to tell me
I
stop.
will tell
eh?
you stop. I think it might have gone.
You have to tell me stop.
It's
eh?
in your pocket, isn't it? Where's it gone? It's not there.
I don't know. Was in charge. You were in charge of the cards. You
You've
touch
magicked
it.
it
You touch
away.
it. What do we do now?
Where have you put it?
I don't
Is
know.
it behind
Was
my
it-
ear?
was-
I haven't got any sleeves. It's not up
You
there.
were in charge of the card. My God, you lose one card. What do we do now? I don't know. Look,
We start again?
I don't know. It's not in the pocket. I don't know. What? Have one card here.
I'm impressed.
Is this one?
That's the one.
It's not broken here or something?
That's very good.
This one?
The 3 of round things. That's exactly what it was.
Fantastic.
I'm very impressed.
Thank you. We found the card.
Yeah, very impressive card sharker. Fernando Alonso, very much the ace in the Renault pack right now. Well, we're right in the middle of France here at Manicourt. I have to say I agree with Ralf Schumacher, who says it sometimes feels like the middle of nowhere. Paris, a couple of 100 miles north of here. Cycling's Tour de France starting this weekend. You can follow the action here on ITV1 and on ITV2. Now, Gary Imlach is joining us.
Übergang machen. Jetzt versuchen wir ganz schnell noch mal ein langes Kabel auszuwechseln, weil sonst sieht es nämlich nicht aus.
schon in der Startaufstellung, bringt das was?
Hätten wir
Der Heinz Harald ist schon in der Startaufstellung. Sollen wir den schon mal vorne
ja, weil es
wegmachen?
sehr voll ist hier, ne? Okay.
Ja, weil er relativ weit hinten ist, aber...
Wenn mich brauchst, ruf mich an.
Yeah?
For the camera.
Yeah. To extend the room.
Okay. Okay. Kohle nochmal für Heppo. Nicht nervös werden, wenn unser Bild mal kurz ausfällt.
Ralf Schumacher and Montoya closing in on the front two. Alonso's two clear of Barrichello, the Brazilian starting 8th. Coulthard won here 3 years ago, more on him shortly. Trulli started well, he's only scored 4 points though in the last half dozen races. Kimi Raikkonen's charge to 2nd place has prompted suggestions that David Coulthard might be asked to play second fiddle to the Finn. He's been suffering in qualifying and needs a boost.
The new one-lap format has failed to bring out the best in David Coulthard, and his race performances have suffered as a result. But this week has seen a turnaround, with the Scot recording his 3rd best grid slot of the season.
Is there an element of relief?
Well, I want to be on pole and I want to win Grand Prix, so the closer I can get to being on the front, then of course that is a relief.
One-lap qualifying is quite challenging. There's several drivers made mistakes, and maybe he's had a few more than most, but we approach this weekend slightly different, and it's worked. It's probably 2 or 3 tenths slower than he could be, but I think the important thing is to get a sort of starting baseline, go back to basics, and see the approach he took, and I think it worked well for him.
What did David do differently?
That would be telling, wouldn't it? But I mean, let's put it this way: he has. He's excelled this year in the unofficial practice sessions and the warm-ups. So it's not a question of capability or focus or discipline. What comes is a little more pressure on this single lap issue. It's a sort of sudden death approach. And it just needed a little bit of fine-tuning on the mental approach to it.
Some people have said that maybe you're too analytical, you've been trying to look too hard at what you're doing rather than just driving the car on the nose. Would you agree with that?
Well, it's very difficult through life with experience gained to unteach yourself things you've learned. So inevitably you use your experience, and sometimes maybe you could say that you use it too much. I think it's a question of when things are going well, no one questions anything. When you do have a period of poor qualifying performances, it becomes suddenly, right, where can we find the problem? Okay, well, you've been sitting there looking at data for an hour, stop doing that, that must be the problem.
So do you think we can now put all this discussion qualifying behind and it's onwards and upwards?
There will be great qualifying, I'm sure, between now and the end of the season, and there'll probably be some pretty average ones, because by the very nature of a one flying lap, I don't believe anyone gets it right 100%, because you could always learn something on that lap that you'd put into practice on the next lap. But the reality is, you know, I've done a good job here in qualifying, and I think I can have a good race.
He's done well here this weekend, Tony. Thinking about it too much, has he been, or what?
Yeah, I'm sure he has, but the thing is, he's tumbled down the order because of it. He's 33 points behind Michael Schumacher in the lead, and he hates the one-shot qualifying. He's got that in his head up there. So the plea is for him to drive, you know, with the seat of his pants. But the thing is, the team have been patient with him and helping him. And if he did what he did at Monte Carlo, where he changed the bar at the last minute, he should have had pole and he dropped back by about 0.5 of a second. So.
Needs a strong drive today. Hasn't been on the podium since he won the race in Australia, first race out. We've got a competition coming right up. Before that, news of what's in store on the ITV F1 website this Wednesday lunchtime. Paul Stoddart, Minardi boss, very much in the news. He's available for a live chat and ask the team. That's down to me this week. And we welcome all your opinions and questions. We picked out an email for you, Tony. It comes from Robert Miles. He wants to know how many litres does an F1 fuel tank hold and how much fuel will be used per lap here in France?
Well, Robert, there's no set size of the fuel tank, but the average is between about 130 to 135 litres that it actually holds. And some of the older cars, like the Minardi, for example, have got a bigger tank on them, so they'll go longer. They use about 3.5 litres per lap, so they've got to make all their judgments from that.
Good. Thank you very much indeed, Tony. Now that competition, courtesy of the Jaguar Racing Formula One team, a chance to win a pair of VIP tickets to the premiere of Terminator 3. Yep, Arnie Schwarzenegger is back. The premiere's at the Odeon in London's Leicester Square. It's on July the 21st. All you have to do is tell us who won the French Grand Prix last year. Was it A, Kimi Raikkonen, B, Michael Schumacher, or C, Juan Pablo Montoya? A, Raikkonen, B, Michael Schumacher, C, Montoya. Now you have to be 18 to enter. The lines close at midnight this Wednesday. You can enter by phone, text or email. The number to call 09065 899 199. 09065 899 199. Calls cost 60p. They should be less than a minute. You can enter on text as well. Text F1 followed by either A, B or C. Or finally, enter via the ITV website at itv.com/F1. And don't forget, leave your name and contact number when entering. And I'm told that Arnie is apparently planning to attend our next Grand Prix. Never know, he might even pop in and join us here in the studio. Once again, though, the British Grand Prix is under threat of termination. Tickets still available for race day. It's the highlight of the British racing year. It's got some very powerful supporters, and they include Sir Jackie Stewart.
The 2003 British Grand Prix will be the best Grand Prix we've ever had. The facilities are better than we've ever had. The car parks are easier to get into and easy to get out of. The roads are better than they've ever been before. The facilities inside the circuit are getting better every year.
And now at Silverstone, go! Schumacher wins rock and roll in Silverstone.
So I think people are going to come and have a fantastic weekend in facilities that are as good as anywhere in the world now for getting entry and exit, and really they're going to see some very good motor racing. I'm looking forward to it, I can tell you.
Okay, but if you can follow all the action, of course, right here on ITV1 throughout the weekend in a couple of weeks' time. All those drivers heading for Silverstone. We'll be right back as the countdown continues to the start of the French Grand Prix. Crowd at Manicourt in the Burgundy area of central France. The Grand Prix is home for the last 12 years. Very fond memories here. Big Renault support, of course, their home Grand Prix. Very fond memories for Michael Schumacher. He's won here 6 times, and we've heard that Fernando Alonso just could be a future world champion, the young card shark. He's got a way to go to match the top man's achievements. Alonso hasn't won a Grand Prix yet. He was on pole for the first time in Malaysia. Michael Schumacher, 13 years older and 13 years in the sport. He's just passed the 1,000-point mark. I suppose the only valid comparison is to compare the young Alonso and the young Schumacher.
These two are very different. The analytical 5-times world champion and the easygoing, card trick-playing Spaniard. What they do have in common is their first big team. It's like they've gone through the same school.
He's always been very serious about his racing, Michael, and I think the biggest change in him came in winter testing of '93, when we realised that the '94 car was actually a really quick car, and he almost changed into a world champion overnight.
Michael was certainly in those early days much more intense. Michael was a very, very good communicator. Fernando's a much quieter character. Yes, he says what needs to be said, but you do have to drag a few things out of him.
It reminds me Michael in '95 in Spa. He was 17th position on the grid, so and he won the race. So yeah, Fernando, I think, can do the same thing. He's always pushing, and I think he can have the same result in such condition.
We tested him before he went to Minardi, and after that first test, I spoke to Flavio that night and said I thought we got something a bit special. I think he has certainly lived up to and possibly exceeded our expectations.
The two races where Jarno recently hasn't finished, Barcelona and in Canada, where we've had a bit of disaster, and I've sort of been able to sit back and almost appreciate the race, if you like, and he's just fantastic. For example, I think on his fastest lap, he set the fastest lap in Montreal in the race, and the first sector of that, he was discussing tyres with his engineer and setting the quickest lap, which is just astounding. I mean, I've not met a driver or really known one that can do that. They normally lose a tenth or something, or certainly don't set quickest lap of the race while they're talking. They normally lose a little bit. I suspect Michael can do that, but there's not many that can.
I recognise him as a very good race driver, yeah. And, very good race drivers have that possibility.
Difficult question here. Who's better?
Today, Michael is. A couple of years' time, I think Fernando's got every chance of being there.
Well, Patrick Forhier is a man with overall responsibility for Renault. We've just been talking about your young gun, Fernando Alonso, a name on everybody's lips, including some of the rival team owners. Do you think you're going to be able to keep hold of him for a while?
I think we had the chance to find Fernando when he was very young. Honestly, it's Flavio who picked him up, and we have seen this first half of the season that he was already one of the top drivers, and I think we have a lot of chance to have him for at least 3 years more now.
Big weekend for you, obviously. A lot of people coming along to support you. 2,500 Renault employees, not least. Can the boys deliver for them?
Well, we are exactly where we think we have to be now at the moment. We have joined the first 4 teams, but we are still the 4th one of the 4th team. So we have now to establish ourselves well and to keep on increasing. We have the next step is to become 3rd or 2nd next year and to fight for the championship in 2005. I think we have done what we had said we were going to do when we came back only 1.5 years ago.
Good luck today. Thank you.
Thank you.
OK, Tony Jardine, they say he is going absolutely nowhere, Fernando Alonso. You knew the young Michael Schumacher as well. How would you compare the two?
Yeah, I mean, I worked with Mike from Formula 3 days and his early days in Formula 1. I said they're very comparable at the early stages, and they've got this tremendous standout. And you can see these flashes of brilliance and hallmarks of champion. Let's just take Nürburgring last week. Fernando's struggling with the car, with the rear tyres, but he held his position on the track, nursed the car home. Coulthard he kept behind him, and he even kept Michael Schumacher behind him on the last corner of the last lap. That shows that he is going to be a future world champion.
Thank you, Tony. 2 stops at Manicourt has been accepted as the strategy here. The new circuit design, though, means it could even be 3 this afternoon. What are Renault going to do? Perhaps Pat Simmons will enlighten Ted.
Well, indeed, Jim, what with the new track layout, it's actually quicker to complete the lap in the pits, so 3 stops is a real possibility this afternoon. Pat, I don't suppose you're going to break with tradition and tell us what you are going to do strategy-wise?
No, I wouldn't tell you exactly what we're going to do. Of course, these days everyone can figure out when the first stop's going to be, and I think everyone can see here they're going to be quite early. So, as you say, 3 stops is a real possibility.
Who do you think can extend that first stop longest out of the top 8?
Well, I think probably Ferrari look like they're going a bit longer. Of course, you know, there's so many things that affect the strategy. There's the effect of the fuel weight, how the tyres are going. Williams very dominant, the Michelin's working very well. And, you know, this is a difficult circuit to overtake on. Going down to the hairpin looks like a nice overtaking opportunity. And Michael certainly set his car up to be quick in the first section. But even so, it's very, very hard to follow a car through turn 3. You've got all the aerodynamic effects, and you need to be close to get the toe into the hairpin.
Can you make it onto the podium this afternoon?
We can. We always think we can. It's going to be hard for us. You know, the top 4 teams are very much in team order, and that makes it hard. But, of course, you know, here, 3 stops, maybe. There's a lot you can do in the pit stops. That's where a lot of overtaking's done these days.
Thanks, Pat. Have a good race.
Thank you.
Rubens, 8th on the grid. So on the face of it, things didn't go brilliantly in qualifying, or did they? There's some suggestion you might be running 2-stop fuel. Is that an option today?
Well, I think the option is in between 2 and 3. I mean, there's no magic in that. I I mean, it's not that I'm completely unhappy with the situation. It's just that I've choose to run a strategy, but the car was a little bit too much understeering in that strategy, and that became quite obvious as I run into turn 3 already. So I was carrying around. It wasn't such a good lap either. Let's see. I mean, we were quite surprised by the performance of the Michelins in Nürburgring. We have a better tire here, so hopefully we'll be good enough to beat them.
Have a good run.
Thank you.
Justin Wilson is going to have to start from the pit lane in the Minardi. Michael Schumacher, a 6 times winner at Manicourt, trying to become the first driver to win any single Grand Prix 7 times, and Ralf Schumacher on pole in the Williams. Reminder, during the race itself, we'll be talking to Renault Technical Director Mike Gascoigne as we get under the skin of the Renault team. It has already been a winning weekend if your name's Williams. Ralf Schumacher and Juan Pablo Montoya playing the men's doubles from the front row. The top 2 in the Drivers' Championship, Schumacher and Kimi Räikkönen, are also side by side. You are in the only place to enjoy the French Grand Prix.
The race on ITV, sponsored by Toyota.
It's 2 years.